The cabin lights kept flickering overhead as the turbulence started to hit, hard enough to rattle your teeth and rattle your nerveso. There I was, kneeling right in the cramped aisle of row 23, trying to keep my hand steady, sweat soaking through my shirt, while a woman named Sarah Thompson, who looked like she'd rather be anywhere but on that plane, was deep in labor. Her husband Marcus held her hand so tight I thought bones might snap, his eyes locked on her, whispering to her like maybe words could hold back a storm. Everyone else around them, their faces were a mix of curiosity, worry, fear, you name it. And I'll tell you, you could almost smell the anxiety, metal and sweat and recycled air, like something electric about to break. I've been through medical emergencies at 35,000 feet. Sure, you do this job long enough. You see everything: heart attacks, panic attacks, a guy who tried to smuggle his emotional support snake on board once, but nothing ever prepares you for a woman going into labor while the plane is bouncing over the Rockies. And behind me, a woman introduced herself as Dr. Alina Vasquez, a real-life retired OB-GYN, as fate would have it, was coaching Sarah on her breathing. The captain, Harrison, was on the intercom, voice calm as he announced an emergency descent into Denver. But what no one knew, not me, not Dr. Vasquez, not even Sarah, was that Marcus, who seemed so composed, had a past that would change everything about that flight. So I'm telling you, as Sarah screamed, as her baby's head finally appeared, I caught Marcus's eye and saw something depth, steel, like the kind of guy who's seen things that can't be undone. But you know what? I didn't have time to dwell on it. That baby was coming. And let me tell you, nothing gets your adrenaline going like hearing, "I can see the head," and realizing you're the one standing between life and disaster, with nothing but a medical kit, a couple of blankets, and the world watching. If you've ever wondered how regular folks turn extraordinary, well, buckle up. Let me back up a sequence to that morning at Chicago O'Hare. I'd done my usual, 4:30 alarm, cold shower, stale coffee, out the door. Been a flight attendant for 15 years, and let me tell you, I've seen every kind of crazy, but nothing like what was waiting at the gate. There was a small crowd, some heated words, and in the center stood Marcus, calm as ever, holding his wife close while a gate agent grilled them about Sarah's pregnancy. She was 8 months along, looked ready to burst, but Marcus had all the paperwork, doctor's note, the works. The agent wasn't having it. "She looks ready to pop, and I'm not taking responsibility for a delivery at 30,000 feet, she said, eyes flicking at Marcus like there was something about him she didn't trust. You know that look, right? I do. I've been on the wrong side of it, plenty people looking right through you, making assumptions, not seeing who you really are. I stepped in, introduced myself, checked the paperwork. Everything was in order, but the agent just bristled like her authority was being threatened. Then Dr. Vasquez, who'd been quietly listening, spoke up. She examined Sarah right there and said, "She's fine to fly." Suddenly the air shifted. The gate agent backed off, and we were good to board. On the plane, I noticed Marcus right away. Not just because of how he treated his wife with care, gentleness, a steady hand, but because he looked like a man who noticed everything. Later, he told me he was a consultant, but something about his body language, the way he moved, said military to me. That's not something you learn in a classroom. In row 23, they settled in. An elderly man nearby cracked jokes about marriage and babies, helped ease the tension. For a minute, it felt almost normal. Takeoff was smooth, the cabin settled into the usual rhythm. But soon, I could tell Sarah was uncomfortable. More than uncomfortable, she was in pain. I asked if she wanted to walk a bit, maybe help with the pressure, and Marcus was right there, steady, moving with her, aware of every inch of space like he was sweeping a room for threats. As we walked to the back galley, an older black woman watched Marcus and said, "You remind me of my grandson Army, Special Forces." Marcus just nodded, tension in his shoulders. Not the kind you get from business. The kind you get from war. At the back, Dr. Vasquez checked Sarah again, mild contractions, not regular. Marcus told me, quietly, that Sarah had a tough pregnancy, was only cleared for this flight because her mother needed emergency surgery in San Francisco. "Sometimes you take calculated risks," he said, and there was that heaviness in his eyes, the weight of hard choices. "What kind of consultant are you?" I asked. He just shrugged. The kind who helps people make tough decisions. You know what I mean? But as the flight dragged on, contractions grew stronger, faster now, every 8 minutes, then 6, then 4.5. Dr. Vasquez set up an impromptu delivery area in the back, with blankets and pillows, the works. Marcus was right there, timing contractions, fetching supplies, staying calm, while the whole cabin buzzed with whispers about the drama in the back row. At one point, Dr. Vasquez pulled me aside, said, "Most men are useless in labor. That one's something else." Watching him how he talked Sarah through each contraction, handed over towels before anyone even asked, kept his breathing slow and steady, you'd think he'd done this before. And then, in the chaos, his secret slipped out. Army Special Operations, he admitted, rolling up his sleeves to help. 12 years active duty, medically retired. Sarah, shocked, said, "You never told me you had medical training." He just smiled. "You never asked." The air in the cabin shifted again now. It all made sense. And then, game time, she's crowning, Dr. Vasquez said. Marcus support her shoulders. Jasmine supplies. I've never moved so fast. The whole cabin was holding its breath. Then a cry, baby's cry cut through the tension. "It's a boy, Dr. Vasquez announced, her voice thick with emotion. But he was small, struggling to breathe. "We need a hospital fast." Marcus, still calm, turned to me before I could call the captain. "Wait, there's something you need to know." He stood up, still holding his son, and told us everything: his full name, his rank, his injuries, the rescue mission that cost him his career. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about the people who helped bring my son into the world. I want to thank every one of them, personally." He asked me to make an announcement to tell the passengers what they'd done for his family. Not just thanks, but recognition. I got on the intercom, voice shaking. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new passenger, Gabriel Thompson, born at 35,000 feet. His father, Colonel Marcus Thompson, United States Army, wants you to know your kindness today is the best kind of service there is." Applause erupted. Tears everywhere, even Captain Harrison teared up. Marcus walked down the aisle, shaking hands, thanking each person. Harold Wilson, the retired principal, said, "Your son will grow up surrounded by love." Passengers started talking, sharing their own stories of births, of kindness, of hope. I could feel the energy in the cabin change suddenly. We weren't just strangers sharing a ride. We were a community. Before landing, Marcus had one last surprise, pulled out a challenge coin, the kind military folks give for exceptional service, and handed it to me. "You stood up for us when others made assumptions. You helped bring my son into the world. You're the reason we made it." I'll never forget the weight of that coin, or what it meant. But he wasn't done. As we landed, fire trucks made a water arch, military brass waited at the gate. The general gave every passenger a certificate, recognizing their service to a military family. Dr. Vasquez got a donation in her name for the Denver NICU. My daughter, struggling through nursing school, was given a scholarship from the new Gabriel Thompson Foundation. "Service should be honored with opportunity, kindness with kindness," Marcus said. And as the family left the plane, surrounded by applause, something lingered in the air more than gratitude, more than relief. It was the knowledge that 100 strangers had become a community, not because of what they did, but because they chose to care. 3 months later, I got a photo of Gabriel, chubby and healthy, along with a letter from Marcus and Sarah. Gabriel's first word was help. We like to think it's because he came into a world where helping others was the first thing he learned. They'd started a foundation, funded scholarships, equipped hospitals, and everywhere they went, people shared their own stories of kindness. Even Harold Wilson went back to teaching, using our story to show kids what real heroism looks like. Now, every time I see a pregnant passenger, every time I stand up for someone who needs an advocate, I remember Gabriel's first cry at 35,000 feet. This story isn't just about a dramatic birth, it's about the choices we all make every day to build walls or build bridges. And when you build bridges, you create miracles. So, if you've ever been part of something bigger than yourself, if you've ever seen strangers become community, share your story. Because these moments matter. They remind us that the power to make the world better is in our hands, every time we choose kindness over convenience. The birth of Gabriel Thompson was extraordinary because of where it happened, but the kindness that made it possible, that's the real miracle. And maybe the next time you fly, you'll look around and see not just strangers, but the chance to be someone's miracle, too.